socialist movement, and then the 2 points are lol and sigh.
Oh no! I mean, I think that it kind of hurts as I laugh. It feels a little bit too true.
Yeah. Some friends of ours the other day were talking about how we're out of touch now because we don't see the fact that kids these days are so far to the left that they make us at their age look like weak liberals. I'm like, wait,
what?
I'm recording right now, so I'm not gonna say. But I was like, what? Like, kids these days are so far to the left on what metric? What does that even mean? Like,
well, there's the woke metric, except for the fact that I think it's already, the woke metric has already been horseshoed a bit. Like, woke is not cool anymore.
No,
for the
not at all.
Zoomers. Like, there's a deeply ironic. It's there's anti-racism is taken as a value, but it's the way that it's expressed and so forth is not so like caustically tinged with angst.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
I also just think it's not true.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
yeah, so there's a lot of posting, undoubtedly.
Yeah, that's what he means.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it means, well, okay, what I will say is I don't think it...
Everything matters, Jason.
Yeah. I don't think it has the effect that we are suggesting that it might have.
No, it's very compatible with the status quo remaining exactly how it is. Like, extreme posting, as long as it's not extreme union organizing and extreme, blockading ships from loading arms going to Israel, then yeah, it doesn't really have any kind of tangible effect on the political topography.
Just to flesh out that mantra that you jokingly, I've said everything matters, and I do believe everything matters, like spiritually, philosophically. But what I also mean is that everything could potentially matter politically. And so all these things that don't matter politically right now is symptomatic, performative, posting culture and so forth signifies something that could matter. It's like something that's not being mobilized and tapped into in reality, but it's there. Like there's something that could matter. Just wanted to flesh that out.
No, I actually think that that's an important distinction because you have these moments that we've lived through, some of them, like like Occupy Wall Street was this kind of no one expected it. Nobody knew what to do with that moment at first. And it's very clear how much people just brought this kind of alphabet soup of ideas with them to go out and just be connected to something, whatever it was, and then it'll take shape as it goes. And I think the worst of us wanted to make them go away if they said like in the Fed rather than tax the rich or something like that. But the
like the vaguely sort of libertarian tinge that a lot of anti-war and anti 1% quote activism had was super frowned upon by the established left, and those people were kind of like shunned.
Yeah, and
You mean the minority, the sect minority shunned the vast majority of the social movement?
Very funny, so. Yeah. It seems counterintuitive, but Trotskyists going Trotskyist and post-Trotskyist, the entire American left is downstream of Trotskyism. So even if it wasn't active Trotskyists, it's still people who come out of movements that are dominated by this Trotskyist sect mentality, even if they're like Stalinists like the PSL or,
Right.
whatever else, or
I mean,
the
I can't
pseudo
think.
socialist parties on the left that are downstream of like Harrington and whatever else.
Yeah, I don't think that since then there has been another um, phenomena in which there is this milieu that is made up of uh, striking nurses and former college grads looking for jobs, and
Homeless
just
encampments.
yeah, just kind of all of everything, and then that energy then carrying over to the Oakland blockade of the port, the beginnings of the low wage workers movement, and the fight for 15, and ultimately the Bernie Sanders phenomenon. This is all like a direct connection from one to the next. And since that moment, well, since we were manipulated, or maybe another way to say is we were correct enough to insist upon purity before the movement gets off the ground, all we have had is increasingly smaller uh, identitarian flare-ups.
You think that's true? I mean, I know there's
I
a,
do, yeah.
I know there's a
I mean, I can't
real,
prove it. I don't have any. I don't have like smoking gun which says this is the moment that this. There was no Wannsee conference that I can point to in American history where the uh, the establishment got together and talked about how we should make everything about identity, so that way these populations don't mix together, and thus there's no populist uh, rage, which
I see.
the socialists can then help further clarify and articulate a politics which is a threat to us. I can't point to that,
I think
but
there are
I
there are
definitely think
vestiges
it's
of
this.
it. There are vestiges
Yeah,
of it in the sort of the Mamdani pivot toward the Trump voter, um, in the Bronx. Like there's that's not. I mean, that's not the same thing. Like a DSA led electoral campaign, mayoral campaign, but it is.
no, but it is part of that the broadest conception of that kind of energy is there for sure. Yeah,
But
Also, there
it's
was, the George Floyd uprisings, and then what's it called? The No Kings thing, which is all sort of like Occupy through a mirror darkly,
yeah,
like not actually organized, kind of just the new phenomenon of organizing, which just relies on word of mouth spreading on the internet so that everybody could get together and blow off steam for a
but I
day and then disappear back on into their homes and not have to like actually do any organizing to keep things going in between.
I'll never
I
forget the. I mean, so I was in Toronto recently, and I remember there was a No Tyrants march. Went right past where the hotel
oh
where I was.
yeah.
I went and stopped. I went outside and went and kind of tried to get a little bit just on the edges. Just what is this exactly? And I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like how Occupy was in Dallas as opposed to Occupy in Chicago. They were very different kind of phenomena, whatever, different things.
Well, yeah, because the Kings are part of their culture in Canada, right?
Yeah,
gotta be respectful. I mean,
It's the
but
weakest shit I've ever heard, dude. Fuck them. Fuck Canada.
you mean the wealthiest nation state in the world?
Is Canada the wealthiest nation state in the world?
This is what I've heard from regarding natural resources. Um,
Yeah.
it's
but
certainly among them. It's up in the top, whatever that number is. If it's three, then it's in the top three. Like,
that's the whole game behind making it the 51st state, right?
So it's this genocidal colonial project that was, only slightly less successful than the United States and is engaged in all kinds of fucking assists in our war crimes and
Yeah,
has committed also their own throughout the years can fuck off trying to pretend like they have some kind of moral superiority over the United States.
yeah.
They're like little fucking lapdogs to the American imperial project. I get so fucking sick of them of Canadian and like British leftists, like acting like it's specifically America that's the problem and not like all the other fucking countries that enable the United States to be able to control this global empire, like everyone in NATO, the French, the
They
Germans.
depend on it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about what's one thing that's major change. So I see the difference from Occupy
Oh,
to
hold on. Hello and welcome to the Regrettable Century. This is part 2 of the episode that we started 2 weeks ago. Do I need to like keep looping the intro music for 11 minutes until it gets to this part and then it fades out? But yeah, we're still talking about the death of the world order, and we started out on the topic that we have in our notes that's titled "The American Left." Anyway, but yeah, so sorry, Ben. Continue with that. You said
that's important. We have to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, of course. People won't know who we are.
I was just going to say, okay, the major sea change, right, between those two things. So in Occupy, one of the things you might see at an Occupy encampment was like a Ron Paul supporter, and that was
definitely
prevalent, and that was a very interesting melding of many different, because that's an anti-imperialist position for many people, and isolationism and so forth. I mean, I still have never heard anyone be as explicitly anti-imperialist at like a presidential debate stage than Ron Paul. And Trump was able to.
Oh, for sure.
Trump was able to like basically sweep up the debris from that and champion it into a new kind of. He was basically able to rechannel the right populist movement in such a way that it would never find itself in cahoots in anything related to the center left or the left, such as at Occupy. It became its own distinct thing. That kind of diffuse right and left populism, I think, was, that's not something that could exist during the Trump populist moment. It was very much contained.
I think there
was crossover. Like there were like the Bernie Trump voters, the Obama Trump voters, but things are still siloed into a kind of a electoral affiliation. And
things are very, very siloed.
Right now might be like the first time where there's some horizon in which that could be feasible again. What's
really interesting about that is
Trump.
That a lot of that siloing is self-imposed.
Sure.
A lot of it is that there's not very much we can do, but we can run in primaries, only Democratic primaries.
We can warn against the dangers of Tucker Carlson while he's speaking out against genocide.
Right.
And I feel like
a waste of time. Like, honestly, everyone should know that Tucker Carlson's other opinions are bad. Right? But, like, if he's outflanking the Democrats from the left, the Democrats should be, like, going above and beyond to out anti-imperialism Tucker Carlson, not just talk shit about him in, like, the weakest way possible. Like, opposed imperialism in the weakest way possible. Like, you've even got like Kamala Harris coming out and saying things like, "Oh, this entire war is just a distraction from the Epstein files," which is obviously not. And most Democrats agreed with the war at the very beginning until it started going poorly, and then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is something we oppose." But yeah, Tucker Carlson's anti-imperialism is far more principled than anyone in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I think the fact that
that's a problem.
Yeah, the fact that it serves to distract from the Epstein files, that's true, definitely. That's not all it is, though. I don't think the world is quite so simplistic as like Donald Trump doesn't wake up and say, "Oh no, they're on to me. I better start a war." Well, okay, maybe he does, but that's not the reason why things happen.
Yeah.
And a really good example of that is that Chuck Schumer has been talking about being tough on Iran. Hillary Clinton talked about how we're going to bomb Iran if I win the election.
Right.
Yep.
You know, like,
Well, this is the point that Finkelstein was making in that interview I was just watching. It's like and this is the right critique to have of Carlson and company, is like the notion that Israel is leading us by the nose. I mean, obviously they tip the scale, but Finkelstein makes the point that U.S. The U.S. National interests have wanted to overthrow Iran since 1979.
That's true. Yeah.
And so, like, this isn't like, Israel plays a big part, but it's not the whole story. And that's sort of the conspiratorial version that you're getting from Carlson and Owens and so forth.
But there's a kernel of truth in
there is a kernel of
Carlson
truth.
and Owens. Yeah, because the Israel lobby in the United States has a very, very oversized impact compared to all other lobbies in the United States, right? So you can have Democratic senators and congressmen that will go against their constituencies because they are in the bag for AIPAC at all, to such a deep extent. So yeah, I think that there is, like, it's a reciprocal relationship. The AIPAC is allowed to have the power that it has because it serves the interests of the permanent security state and the arms industry, but it certainly does have an outsized impact. And like saying that Israel is leading the United States by the nose is incorrect, but saying that Benjamin Netanyahu is able to snow our dumbass dotard of a president into doing his bidding is not incorrect.
No, the difference. Finkelstein was comparing Trump's to Bush Cheney, and as with regard to competency and how hollowed out this administration is. Basically, there's no one to rely upon for.
It's because he's surrounded himself with sycophants that are dumber than he is, explicitly so. He says he doesn't like people that are smarter than him. So that's a real low bar too, by the way.
Sure.
Like,
even when you think about Washington D.C., it's still going to be hard to find people who are dumber than Donald Trump.
Which is why he didn't get him from Washington D.C.
Finkelstein refers to Trump as a retarded ape, like repeatedly.
Didn't who else? Oh, Macron. Did you see what Macron called him?
What
Macron called him a retard as well, except for in French. So it's like retard or whatever. I just saw the headline as it made me laugh really hard because it was all in French, but I knew what the word retard meant.
Sure.
But anyway, just you guys shouldn't use that word. It's bad.
That's true. Yeah.
But if we were to allow one caveat, it does feel, emotionally appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically the final thing I was going to say about the Finkelstein is that this is the most personalized presidency in the history of the office. And so, there's no national interest, perceived or otherwise, that is which we can interpret as the ruling class, the national interest of the ruling class. Even that is somehow not a priority.
Right.
It's a lower priority than Donald Trump's personalized interest.
Yeah, and that's actually a big part of why what we have been talking about when it comes to the question of at what point is it fascism, and it's one major factor here is that there is no nation, there's no race when it comes to the motivations for this president. It's not fascism because it's different. It's bad, but it's not this. It's a fundamentally different thing.
Yeah.
Which
people hate to hear that thing. They hate to hear that. They're just like, no, we have to be able to call it fascism because that's the only thing that's emotionally satisfying for me to be able to say about it.
like calling Trump a retarded ape.
Yeah.
It feels true. That's not actually true.
No.
I mean, well, this is a new thing, right? This is the product of the. I mean, we had what's the guy's the Italian leader who kind of was prefigured.
Berlusconi?
Yeah, we had a Berlusconi. We've had figures that kind of have prefigured Trump in different ways, but this is like the culmination of like 40, 50 years of political and economic policy and media media centralization and also just like the lies coming from the government being more and more just blatant.
Yeah.
That just like creates this kind of new thing that's maybe made up. I think post-fascist is okay, like in the mix. Like there are those elements, but it's also something new and different. It's like post-liberal. It's like post, it's it may feel good to name the sort of affective symptoms you're seeing in like memes and speech, but what's underlying it? What is actually making it go?
I mean, it's kind of almost like post-political because it speaks the language. Our moment speaks the language of politics because we don't have another language. But it really does. I mean, okay, the political framework around everything is very appropriate because it certainly feels like the decline of and the end of I don't know, liberalism of this social order, the way that things have been for a very long time. It seems to be ending, and I think this is very appropriate that we don't know what to make of. We don't know how to talk about. We don't know how to assess anything really, because it seems like it has a very different logic. Like these people aren't even. Well, I've said this before. I guess I've said this a couple times now. What are my? This is going to just be among my mantras. This is a ruling class which doesn't even really know how to fake it for the preservation of their own interests. They're like King Louis. It's like,
Right.
well, I can't. I'm not gonna escape the revolutionaries and their courts in a carriage not fit for a king. It's like, well, you're not going to escape at all then. But of course, the difference between that moment in history and this moment in history is that I don't think it's going to matter what we post.
True. And would that it were that dire for them.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that happening for a while.
No. Yeah.
I think they have the means to separate themselves kind of ever more from the rest of us.
Yeah. For sure.
Hang on one second. I gotta I'm gonna turn off the dryer. Just keep hearing this being
Drying noise.
Hell yeah.
It's just life, man. It's okay. We include the cries of babies, toddlers, drying machines.
Yeah. If you listen to the geopolitics episode last week, you heard my daughter crying twice.
Yeah, we're very pro social reproduction on this podcast.
For sure. Like reactionaries.
Because we're not anti-natalist.
Yeah, exactly.
What
Anti-natalists are anti-human and thus not Marxist.
Oh my God. But even the most thoughtful arguments say for abolishing the family is not anti-natalist. If you drill under the arguments are that we should expand the family, that the nuclear family is something that is limiting the social fabric and solidarity and all those things and keeping us atomized. And so antinatalism explicitly is actually much worse than that. It's like, it's funny. It's funny that that has ever become something that could be in vogue on the left.
Yeah. Well, it matches up very nicely with the fact that it's too expensive to have kids and to
Of
raise
course,
kids.
of course.
So it's like it's what the left generally tends to do with all kinds of things that are byproducts of the ravages of capitalism. Like, oh, it's something bad that's happening to everybody, like access to education making people dumber, or like no access to healthy food making everybody unhealthy, or like people not being able to afford their rent and stuff and needing to engage in like all kinds of incredibly degrading things in order to make money, and the people on the left being like, actually, those are good things because workers have to do them. And that's just what antinatalism is it's another one of these, like, taking something bad that's been thrust upon us by capitalism and lionizing it rather than like opposing the causes of it.
Like sex work.
Yes. But I explicitly didn't mention sex work because I don't want to have to talk to people about it.
I mean, with regard to sex work, I am totally willing to extend solidarity with workers and
For sure, they should be unionized.
protect their rights,
Yeah,
protect
absolutely.
them from abuse, make it, and also make it so that they don't have to do that. If they would,
Exactly.
if-
It's one of the most dangerous and mentally taxing jobs out there. And that's not just my opinion. There's been a lot of studies done on this sort of thing. So yeah, I would like it if people didn't have to do that in order to live.
but that doesn't mean I'm going to like ever make some kind of moral stance against someone who's doing that to survive and shame people.
No.
It just means I
Not
also
even
don't think
Jesus did that, you know?
right. He hung
Yeah.
out with it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. In the same way that I'm not going to celebrate it and say one of the jobs which will always exist after the revolution is this. Just like I'm not going to do that, I'm also not going to wag my finger and shame people for engaging in the world as it is.
well, I think there's a
Right.
weird like lionization that's coming from a very middle class, comfortable place,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
And
It's probably still a thing, but you know, there's people that do choose from that class position to become sex workers, and I just think that's kind of entirely a different thing than coming from a poor working class background and doing it to survive or to get
For
ahead
sure.
in any way. And I don't want to I don't want to shame or judge either of those people. I just want them to be empowered.
Right. There's a huge difference between having the economic stability to not have to choose something like that and then choosing to do it otherwise, you know?
Yeah. Anyway,
I want a world where no one has to do that.
I guess this is part of the end of the world. I don't know this conversation.
Sure.
I think so. I mean, I think the fact that that this sort of thing tends to decline precipitously in moments like like revolutionary governments regard this as a social issue to be addressed, and it doesn't grow in moments of collective liberation and collective emancipation and collective empowerment. It grows in periods like the one that we've been living in this country for the last 50 years of the opposite. It's the opposite of revolutionary energy is what tends to make it grow.
The Epstein class helps it to grow. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for being anti-Semitic, everyone.
By saying Epstein class. That, I mean,
That's
we
unhinged.
got to stop it. We got to stop it with listening to people who say shit like that.
Yeah.
There needs to be a button that just like erases that person's hard drive. People who say shit like that. Or like I saw a comrade saying that Anna Kasparian is anti-Semitic now, and I'm like, wait, I've seen a lot of her rants that people have called anti-Semitic, but I don't understand how someone of the left could call them anti-Semitic. They're clearly anti-Zionist and not anti-Semitic, and it's just like, I don't know. It's these sort of like shit lib adjacent leftists that are calling them anti-Semitic because they're, I guess, too emotional in their appeals. I don't know. I couldn't imagine what they would possibly mean by that.
I think it's because they've made room for a fusion of the left and right wings of populism, and oftentimes frame, this is the Young Turks I'm speaking about, frame their messaging in such a way that doesn't sound all that different from Tucker Carlson's when talking about dual
loyalty. Did go on Tucker Carlson. That's probably enough for
both
them
of them
there.
have, but also like the framing of it is like around sovereignty, dual loyalty, and those kinds of things. And of course, you can carry those to an anti-Semitic place, which people on the right do, but that doesn't mean she is.
Well, right, and it doesn't mean that those things are objectively
anti-Semitic,
anti-Semitic, or even
right.
But I just think that's the
objectively tend towards the anti-Semitic either. Like,
they're actually just factual.
Well, so this is one of my, I guess it's a gripe. Yes, one of my gripes with the left, capital L, whatever. And it's one of the bits of territory I'm happy to cede, even. Like, okay, fine, if this is just not a left, if this makes me not left, fine, go ahead. You can go be left over there. Being, caring about, being concerned with something like sovereignty, if people say that's not left.
Oh, so are breaking points, by the way, also anti-Semitic for
the same
about that sort of
same
thing.
reasons.
Yeah,
right. Because I've said this a couple times, and in some sense we've all said this, but like, when I think of internationalism, I think it's a qualifier that you would add on to a thing which we might call nationalism. Like, if the USSR is made up of a series of countries with different habits and different, in some cases, different laws. Certainly, the Warsaw Pact, the different laws. I think it's okay, but the fact they're cooperative with each other, the fact that they were cooperative with each other, or they at least tried to be and talked about it.
Also, referring to yourself as Goyim, is anti-Semitic because the Jewish supremacist Zionists who refer to us as Goyim and cattle.
Right, they do that.
They definitely do that. And like, I've seen all kinds of videos of American rabbis and like Israeli nationalist sort of psychopaths saying that the Goyim will do our bidding, we'll force them to fight wars for us and die for us, which, I got to say their rhetoric is much more anti-Semitic to me than anything that Anna Kasparian has said. So, I mean, I get it. I understand like not wanting to use the dog whistles that the same dog whistles that the right uses, like the way that like psychopaths in the during the War on Terror used to get infidel tattooed on them or whatever,
right,
or put that on their cars because that's what they imagine that Muslims think about them. Right wingers will refer to themselves sort of like as Goyim because that's what the Zionists or the Jews to the right wingers, I guess, would call them. But the thing is that is what they call us.
Right.
So
exactly.
it's
true.
It's not. Yeah. So I understand wanting to shun the dog whistles, but that doesn't mean that like hearing somebody say that we're scum and cattle because we don't, because we're not Jewish and calling us Goyim, and then adopting that as sort of like reaction to that isn't always anti-Semitic, even though sometimes it is. You know what I mean?
But I think this is also something that the sort of liberal left or center left scolds fail to appreciate that online. I mean, Hassan Piker is another example of this. Like he uses a lot of the same language you might like reclaiming Goyim, there's all kinds of like language that reverberates outward from a real place into the left and right online.
Yeah.
And they cross over and they're interchangeable and there's irony and there's all sorts of, references. That's how the internet works, right? That's how memes work.
It is.
And so it's not as you can't. It's not so neat as being able to say, "Oh, Hassan Piker, Anna Kasparian, they use the same words as Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson.
That's
Therefore,
what Chapo's problem was at the beginning too. They used a lot of the same kind of language that that alt-right people did, but against the alt-right, and that was enough for a lot of people to start calling him Chapo Fash House. They called people cucks. I remember Felix calling that one cop that tased that kid a stupid fat pussy when he did it. Just using the same type of language, which if in the carefully curated, like hermetically sealed bubble of the left that has existed in the past 20 years in this country, someone choosing to step outside of this like very, very specific type of language that is allowed to be used, and words are magic, as we know, that's going to turn you into a fascist, right? Hearing people do that for the first time on the internet because of I just really think that left is dead and those people don't matter anymore.
It isn't. And this kind of scolding that we're hearing now is they don't realize that it's dead. They don't realize that it already failed, and that sort of the slaughtered calf of woke was to, it didn't achieve anything,
right?
For the left or for human emancipation. And of course, there's a lot of other things that are adjacent to it that are important that we do hold on to, but we do need to push back against the mandates that all of this this package that's all woven together needs to define our positions on an array of things.
Yeah.
And I just think that's why it's let's just claim to be communists, Marxists. We don't need to be on the left. That doesn't mean anything. It's a reference to a contingent relationship that is changing all the time. So,
yeah. Well, that's the thing I've been saying for a little while. That the left and the right of what?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's Chris just dropping in to remind you that we have a Patreon. For a few of your hard-earned dollars, you can get access to one of our 3 tiers. The first tier is just ad-free access to our public episodes. The second tier gives you access to all of our Patreon exclusive episodes, which includes 2 bonus episodes a month and 2 geopolitics episodes a month. And the third tier is just the same as the one before that, but more expensive. Now, all 3 of these tiers give you access to our Discord, which is a zone for social interaction, as well as a place to discuss politics, theory, the news, and to plan our book clubs. Also, we have merch available. We have a couple of different t-shirt designs, and you can pick from different colors, whether you want short sleeve or long sleeve. And it's a way to support the show and get some pretty cool looking stuff. One final thing. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcatching app to help drive the algorithm to suggest us to more people. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, honestly, I have a better way to say what I was trying to say earlier, which is that this was generally it's presented often as either there's a parochialism or a nationalism versus a very cosmopolitan globalism, and that's when I think of internationalism, it's the sublation of the one through the other. It's not like an either or. And when we say the left and how everyone's just liberals, that's a really good example of what I mean. I am not in favor of that understanding of internationalism, like at all.
This is probably a good moment to remind listeners to, if they haven't already, go back and listen to our reading series from last year that covered how many different episodes?
Like 117 or so.
And who did we read?
Otto Bauer.
Otto Bauer, the Austrian Marxist. And it's one of the more thorough investigations of nationalism, nationality, the nation,
Yeah, just of the national question. Yeah.
the national question, and it's not something that is so didactic as to be, to sort of hinge upon, let's say, the last 30 years. It's a deeper question. But I think a lot of the internationalists that have gripe about American sovereignty are perfectly fine to vocalize and use it when speaking out against interventions abroad, like Iranian sovereignty, Cuban sovereignty, Venezuelan sovereignty. That's a part of
Yeah.
international law, and so the left is all about international law. It's just when it pertains to the American empire, suddenly it ceases to, hold a, because it's morally compromised. It's something that they are dismissive of. But it so happens that it does, it also matters. It also matters how the empire conducts itself, and sort of that at home sovereignty has everything to do with how imperialism functions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you have not just that you have to use language which people actually speak that they can actually understand. You actually have to you can't speak to people like in a way where you think one thing but you speak their language. Like you can't like hide what you're thinking. You actually have to. We really do have to like fundamentally revisit a lot of our presumptions that we have had over the last few decades. Because there's no fealty to anything. There's nothing to have any fealty toward. You can't just, as an individual, say, "Oh, I'm against national borders. I'm against the idea of sovereignty." What are you for? Well, I'm for the international proletariat. Okay, but what is that, and how is that? Like, it's not composed. Are you in favor of composing it? Why don't you start by the, I don't know, national proletariat and getting them to
Yeah.
talk to each other?
Well, yeah. Things can only you can only refer to things in like abstract categories for so long. Eventually,
Yeah.
you have to come back to the concrete, and that's theory and praxis, right?
All right, where are we?
Where are we indeed?
I mean, we're just kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. This was conceived of as being originally just kind of an end point on the other episode, but we've already got 45 minutes of recorded stuff, and we haven't really looked at this outline at all. So I think it matters, but I don't think it really is critical that we're like, oh, we have to talk about this, we have to talk about that,
Well, we can use this as a guide. Like I think that one thing that comes out of what we were just talking about is this section right here. MAGA is finished
Yeah,
as a
Yeah.
movement.
for sure.
Yeah. MAGA is finished as a movement in the way that like the sort of majority of the Tea Party just got subsumed into the mainstream of the Republican movement and became sort of like the extreme positions of the Tea Party were watered down enough so that they could be acceptable to all Republicans. In the same way, that's what MAGA is now. There's the actual movementist portion of the of MAGA is gone, and the boomer chuds that were going to vote for Republicans no matter what anyway that called themselves MAGA have been subsumed into the body of the Republican Party. Whoever the Republicans put up next, they're going to vote for him. It doesn't matter. But like the activist portion of MAGA is gone. Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, like, Nick Fuentes did that thing where he was like, this movement is dead. This movement's no good.
Vote
And
Democrat.
so he took out so he had a blue trucker cap and it said America First on it. And he's like, this is what I'm for. MAGA, you can have MAGA. MAGA's, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
And if Ted Cruz is MAGA, then like, yeah, he's right. I mean, that's
Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham are MAGA.
Yeah. Wasn't Ted Cruz also a Tea Party
He was.
figure at one point? Yeah,
That's what his ascendance was from.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So
just
MAGA is finished in the same way that being a democratic socialist is like it doesn't really have any
yeah.
profound significance. Like the Democratic Party has absorbed that left edge, that left criticism, that insurgency.
Well,
The people who were like the Bernie or Buster type people,
yeah. One could
those people are just Democrats now.
one could argue that that was the greatest success that could be achieved from that particular politics, which would be to become absorbed by the Democratic Party.
It's certainly what the critics of the movement said would happen.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think it actually is probably the greatest that could have been achieved, because I think that the U.S. the two party system is extremely fluid and very capable of recuperating everything outside of it. Outside of there isn't a thing that exists permanently on the outside.
I mean, it's even the case in a parliamentary system like the UK. We've been watching. Obviously, we've been seeing your party self cannibalize before it could even take a single step, and then
What a fucking joke, dude.
the Green Party is now doing like it's almost like it's taking a script from the Labour Party on its sort of. Didn't you share that with us, Chris, about how it expelled a Jewish anti-Zionist?
It's possible.
We share so much
for anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I remember reading that. I bet I shared it. That makes sense.
So it's not just this duopoly problem. It's like
No, it's the problem is of liberal democracy in under capitalism.
Right. I mean, I guess it sort of goes in. So MAGA's finished. The Democrats aren't an opposition party. I think that's where I would like to direct this conversation, just to so we can check that off the list.
mm-hmm.
But in doing so, I think the perfect way to illustrate that was to talk about what if Newsom or Harris won the Democratic nomination.
What sucks about that is like it's very realistic. Especially Newsom 28 is like a very, very plausible next chapter.
I've already said this on a number of occasions. I want to say it here that I'm voting straight ticket, no APAC. So I don't care who it is. If they take APAC money, I'm not voting for them. If it's between a Democrat and a Republican that both take APAC money, I'm not voting for either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only voting for that's the only way I'm voting. It's a strategic vote. It's a protest vote. I don't think it matters if we run socialist candidates or not, because
it certainly doesn't matter if we run 32 socialists. Yeah, if we run like 32 different socialist candidates, then no, it's not. That doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
like at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my vote away this year. Actually, gonna vote. I'm gonna throw my vote away on whoever the fuck doesn't take APAC money, and in 2028 as well. Yeah, I don't know. I might change my priorities by then, but I doubt it.
You're not alone. Like Hassan Piker was saying weeks and weeks ago that if it were to come down to Newsom versus Carlson, that there would be a large flank of the left that would vote for Carlson, and I don't think that's wrong. Basically following your schematic there.
Yeah, I don't think he's incorrect in saying that. It's hard to imagine any Republican being worse than Newsom.
Oh, I fucking hate him so much.
He's the worst. He is like a slick, intelligent, absolutely amoral operator that would be a very competent and malevolent manager of empire.
He makes
the memes
Kamala
that show
he makes Kamala
the memes
conscientious.
Patrick Bateman.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What? Start over.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I like the memes where it shows Patrick Bateman but it says Newsom 28.
Yeah, that's correct.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what were you saying, Ben?
No, I was
We'll
just
get both
saying.
of these in here.
Sorry. In comparison, Kamala seems to be a conscientious actor compared to Newsom. If that can be, I mean, to
Dude,
me, anyway.
fucking. How is California putting out like the most sinister right wingers it can field to be the Democratic nominees?
Well, that's because they're a one-party state, like
Yeah.
so. The right wing and the left wing of American liberalism, those are both reflected in the one-party version of it in California. So they're all Democrats. So it's actually a fairly right-wing state if you consider that.
The thing is that Democrats, the average Democrat voter, is just as stupid and ill-informed as the average Republican voter, and will vote their team no matter who it is, regardless of how fucking evil and amoral they might be. Evil or amoral, because I guess if you're amoral, then no, I guess I was about to say if you're amoral, then you're not necessarily evil. But I think being amoral is evil. So yeah,
yeah. I think that being amoral is evil.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Even if
real
you
evil.
don't think of your
Well, being evil is still a moral position, right? So
Yeah.
being amoral.
I think most people don't think I'm going to do something evil today. I think they're just amoral, and that makes them act in evil ways.
Well, right. Like, so when Sean Hannity says, I am no longer Catholic.
Oh, he did?
I don't think he has formally said he's no longer Catholic. Yeah.
I didn't know.
And I got to say, man, like, I don't think that you were.
Good.
I don't think you, yeah. But like, what? I don't think that he, I don't, yeah. I don't think that he
No
thinks
offense, Ben.
of that
I don't
as
claim Protestantism, but I just have never,
I don't remember the kind of the point I was trying to make, but it's like I don't think that he thinks whatever. Sean Hannity does not think of himself as a guy who's making decisions that are good or evil, but nevertheless, he is. I'm okay. Never mind. I'm not trying to say if you're not Catholic, you're evil.
Yes,
I
you
am.
are. Yes, you are.
And you're all going to hell. I know Catholics don't even believe that. That's just a personal belief of mine. I'm just kidding.
No, I actually really like Pope Francis and his belief, and rather his expressed hope that nobody's in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, we kind of are talking about being in hell.
I mean, I guess that's true. We are kind of are.
Yeah, in a very social distortion kind of way. Yeah. I hope that this will happen because I've already done my time in hell. That's where we're all living now. This is hell world. That's where we live. MAGA / MEGA versus America First. Now, MAGA versus MEGAs. I'm definitely pro MEGAs.
Even as a vegan, I'm pro MEGAs.
Right. Well, I'm vegan MEGAs. Vegas.
Well, you know.
And for those of you not from a place that borders Mexico, migas are a very lovely breakfast treat.
Yeah.
Made with eggs.
They were
eggs and tortillas.
Yes. Google migas. So this one was like, it said MAGA / MEGA versus America First. And then it said another Tea Party and the GOP. It's kind of what Ben was talking about when he said if it came down to a Newsom versus Carlson, which is, it's not like Carlson is talking about being a presidential contender.
Yeah, he hadn't even mentioned it, I don't think.
No, if any, I think he very consciously discourages that kind of thinking.
He made the joke. He made the quip on Piers Morgan. I saw the clip where, like, if it meant that he could debate Ted Cruz again, he would do it just in order to do that.
Yes. But so to me, the real question is how much does any of this matter? other than the fact, obviously we have to
Everything
talk about
matters,
it.
Jason.
Obviously we have to talk about it. We have to assess it. It matters that we know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I would like to make the contention that another Tea Party in the GOP, another left edge of the Democratic Party, I just don't think those things matter. This is not going to matter at all.
No, neither side, regardless of how radical they are, is going to do anything about the climate. And that's going to kill all of us a long time before it fucking matters. Who is, you know, I mean, I don't mean to be a doomer about it, but like some of the stuff that I've seen recently come out about the Atlantic ocean currents dying and it's incredibly, incredibly depressing stuff. And it's not even on the table for discussion.
Right. And so like in places like in Tehran and in Beijing and in Moscow, there are decisions being made, there are things being done, which might actually have some, which already are having some big impacts on the organization of and distribution of and flow of capital. And I think those things matter and will have a much more obvious and immediate impact in the way that like the Tea Party types and the Democratic Socialist types might expect they might expect to have that kind of impact. But I think that there are events happening outside the country which are going to have a lot more of an effect on the country itself. I think part of the reason why there is this kind of quasi third worldist affectation, even if it's not third worldism at all, because China is definitely not third world.
No, I mean, we are in certain parts of the United States.
Yes. Especially rural areas, like in Louisiana. I remember seeing poverty that there's poverty in Texas, right? I grew up seeing it. But just like when I was in college in my 20s, just one state over, in comparison, Texas is a wealthy state compared to Louisiana. And the poverty I saw there, like kind of off the beaten path, was like the third world. And this is 20-something years ago, but...
Well, yeah, and they're like states like Alabama are really, really low on the Gini coefficient index on like every metric.
And New Mexico.
Isn't the poorest county in the United States like Zapata County in Texas?
I think so. Border? I think that might be the case, yeah.
They don't even have like sewage and electricity in several parts that are heavily populated parts of the county.
Right, and like when you look at what third world actually means, it's not that the country is poor, but that there's, the favelas exist in the shadow of high rises with like helipads on top.
Oh, then we're definitely a third world country then.
Very much so, yeah.
It's about where the economy points toward.
Yeah,
we're on the way down.
It's not whether or not there's a rising tide, but rather whether or not it can lift all boats, or if some of the boats are actually chained down and are going to sink as the tide rises.
Can sink all boats.
That is,
rising tide can sink all boats. That's what we live through right now.
I think that's probably.
I think that's what's coming down the pike with the fallout from the economic fallout from this war.
And, I mean, I already can't afford gas right now. Like I've been putting $15 worth of gas in my tank every like week or so, because if I filled it all the way up, it would be $80 to $100. And food,
right? So if ever there was a moment,
I got like a quarter of the food that I normally get the other day, and still paid like $200. It's just insane. It's gonna get
right.
worse.
And so like somebody, I forget where, but I saw this clip of why is there no George Floyd type sentiment of protest and of outrage about the Epstein stuff? And I would also admit that's a question I have, but I would also add to that, what about the fact that life is becoming increasingly unlivable, not just because of unemployment, not just because of inflation and stagnation of wages, whatever, but also like of AI and data centers and so on. And why isn't there an anti-war movement? Forget setting aside whether or not, how effective I think that actually might be, just as a movement, just people going around voicing their opinion in the streets. But there isn't even that. Like what we're living through as a country is an extreme resignation.
Except for stochastic acts of violence like Luigi Mangione and all these warehouse fires.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or the guy who firebombed Sam Altman's house.
Right. So it's like this sort of stuff also happened in tandem with the uprisings that led to the Bolshevik Revolution and the 1905 Revolution and stuff like that. But these kind of actions alone have never brought down a government, have never really deeply changed society. Well, that's not true, because I think that the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand really did change society.
Yeah, in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
It changed society quite a bit.
Right, but that's not the kind of situation that we're dealing with here.
Well, I mean, not in any kind of a way which is apparent.
Right.
That's the damn thing about this Owl of Minerva, you know?
Right.
I think in order for anything like that to be viable, beyond just like little so what's the, before I say that, what's the difference between, like, how do you signify the social death that is happening? Like George Floyd, it's caught on tape and it becomes this dramatic signifier. It's a real event, but it's also showing you what's happening all over the place all the time. Right. So what's the equivalent of that to something like climate or like class immiseration? Like, how do you make that into an event that you can like,
I don't think there is.
I don't know that there is something like that. I mean,
Hurricane Harvey or Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, right? but then it's
as you get.
Yeah, there's some kind of step away from it. It's not a cop strangling someone to death, right? So
right.
I mean, the closest I can think of is maybe I just went to the theater and watched a screening of Harlan County, USA, the Barbara Koppel film. There's stuff like that can have an impact, but as far as some kind of virality, which is what social movements are often on the tail of, I don't know. What's missing again is the kind of movement we need, which is, I can't think of a substitution for a party, for an independent working class party, not an organization that has sort of one foot into electoral politics in one of the two parties and one foot out.
Yeah.
And I think that what the DSA is would definitely play a part into creating an independent party. But there are all these contradictions that have to be ironed out in this experiment that's being run right now. And I don't think we can have anything approaching class politics, organized class politics that is militant, not to mention revolutionary, just something organized that can reform in a real way these issues that are going to sink all boats without that independence, without that party apparatus. And it also has to basically be harnessing this populist, all these little things that we've been talking about this past hour, right and left. And then when you have stochastic violence, that's a different story. Then when you have all these outbursts, that's a different story. When you have that organization that is independent from the capitalist parties. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can. There's no substitute for that. I guess you could call it something different besides party, but it has to be something. It can't just be this diffuse kind of social movement that you can be in or out of, and is only coming onto the scene when there's outcry, when there's something horrible happening. Like, just think about if there was something more concretely established in Minneapolis from that
Right.
all those events. You know, like, how do you keep what you build and make it stronger? It's the whole basis of a union. You forge it with contractually. You make it something that is real, that can't just dissipate when there's a lull in consciousness.
Well, and that's why the types of organization, the types of actions that we have now, the reason that they're able to exist in this country is because they're not a threat, even a little bit.
Yeah.
It's what who coined the term the compliant left? Because that's what it is.
Gabriel Rockhill is doing this tour of his book on the Frankfurt School, and he's
right.
I don't know if he coined it, but he uses that a lot.
Yeah, is he the one that says that the Frankfurt School was a psyop, the CIA psyop?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I think that's incorrect, but
yeah, it's a little too
talk about that
too
now.
flat. It's a little too flat.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely devoid of like critical. I'm not gonna say it's devoid of critical analysis because I haven't read the book yet. I don't know, but it's devoid of the nuance that would be required to have that discussion.
Yeah, I mean,
Russell Jacoby wrote a review of that book where he trashes it, and I trust Jacoby over Rockhill any day.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are really their feathers are quite ruffled by that book and by its propositions, which
It's
makes
worth
me kind of want to read it.
Yeah,
but I think I know already. I don't agree with it entirely.
Right.
Ben, earlier when you were talking, I thought about this poem by Rilke, Rainer Maria Rilke. The poem is a sense of something coming, and it says, "I am like a flag in the center of open space. I sense ahead the wind which is coming, and I must live it through. While the things of the world still do not move, the doors still close softly, the chimneys are full of silence. The windows do not rattle yet, and the dust still lies down. I already know the storm, and I am troubled at the sea. I leap out and fall back, and throw myself out, and am absolutely alone in the great storm." And I think that's what it feels like to be a critically minded, hopeful, pessimistic socialist of the types that we are.
Рабочие и крестьяне не смогут прожить без нас. Без нас некому будет установить порядок, определить работу, тянуть труду. Без нас все развалится и государство распадется.